Hi, my name is John Joel Matencio Cendana.
You're the longest.
Hi, my name is Corrine Morris.
Hi, my name is Dominic De Vera Quiambao.
Hi, I'm Abigail Colmenar.
Hi, my name is Ericadane Tabuyo.
Shean Martin P. Rosario.
Hi, my name is Ericadane Tabuyo.
I'm Abigail Colmenar.
I'm Nikki.
I'm Corrine Morris.
I'm John Cendana.
And I am Shean Rosario. Huh? Sabino?
We're group 4 and our character was Dr. James Blevens, and some of his key traits were that he was ignorant, bright, independent, helpful, disciplined, humble, and respectful.
This is historical significance. Blevens showed how medical instruments were difficult to manufacture during the Civil War. Blevens showed insight into the horrible, unsanitary conditions of the army camps.
He represented how most doctors of the time were undertrained and only had a few years experience.
Okay, so these are the quotes that represent Dr. James Blevens. And the first one is that the doctor was seldom agitated except for when the lack of sanitation infuriated him. And this quote means that Blevens was rarely in a bad mood and usually had his temper in check. However, being a surgeon and a medical professional, he was angry with the unsanitary health conditions of the camp.
So our next quote is James Blevens, who had come to conquer bullet holes and shattered limbs, but was instead camp supervisor of hygiene and sewerage, and also apparently military salutations, musicianship, literacy, and gastronomy, sighed and said, "The surgeon does." In this quote, Blevens had originally enlisted into the army to help out as a surgeon, and for this reason, he was unable to help out Mary. This shows the irony in that he is not an army surgeon, but almost a manager of a camp. So our next quote is James Blevens, who had come to conquer bullet holes and shattered limbs, but was instead camp supervisor of hygiene and sewerage, and also, apparently, military salutation, musicianship, literacy, and gastronomy, sighed and said, "The surgeon does."
The next quote by Dr. James Blevens, it says, James Blevens had written that the disease was traveling from patient in the hospital in Frederick, infecting their wounds. Most of the men were dying.
So our next quote by Dr. James Blevens is, "If only one could take a microscope to a person in whole, not just in parts, what would he understand then? Perhaps his own life with its peculiar introspective lens." So the quote means that the men wishes that they could just understand and get their own life, because like life is so special. Because Sabino.
Come on, man.
Add that part, just cut it. So our last quote from Dr. James Blevens says, James Blevens, who had come to conquer bullet holes and shattered limbs, but was instead camp supervisor of hygiene and sewerage, and also apparently military salutations, musicianship, literacy, and gastronomy, sighed and said, "The surgeon does." So that means Blevens had originally enlisted into the army to help out as a surgeon, and for this reason he was unable to help out Mary. That's why Mary had such a crazy journey. This shows the irony in the irony that he is not an army surgeon but almost a manager of a camp. Sabino.
So the summary for Dr. James Blevens is that James Blevens was a surgeon. He served in the army during the Civil War era. In the army, he was many things for the soldiers. He was a caretaker and was the overseer of the camp and its hygiene. James was also a major part in Mary's life. Blevens declined Mary's effort to apprentice her. Blevens fell in love with Mary and her large ambitions.
Okay, so this is what our group thinks Dr. James Blevens looks like. We think he's young, and he has brownish black hair, and he's slim, and he's looking into a microscope. So the second picture is basically explaining his love for Mary and how I don't know, what else should I say?
Sabino.
Just say it. We're gonna cut it off. We're gonna cut it off.
Okay, so
My
Name.
Is
Mary.
Sutter.
So unfortunately, one of our group mates, Sabino La Pena, wasn't able to make it. However, we sent him the footage and he was able to upload on YouTube for us. And we just didn't want to exclude him from our group just because he wasn't here. But he did do work, so don't forget to give him points.
Sabino.
Sabino. Sabino. Sabino. Sabino.